As you probably know, we love stealth games here. We also really like some open world games. So what about the games that combine them? Today, we're going to talk about 10 awesome open world stealth games. Now, keep in mind, as a disclaimer, full, dedicated, open-world, stealth-only games are actually pretty hard to come by, but we do have some really cool ones here. Along with that, we have some open-world games with hybrid stealth elements that also pull it off really well. But anyway, let's get started off with number 10. Assassin's Creed Syndicate is one you probably didn't think we would put on this list, but as big fans of like the classic style Assassin's Creed games, we had to give it some love, especially with how Syndicate really does stealth. Syndicate straight up is a pretty cool stealth experience. It's not perfect. The enemy artificial intelligence is really stupid, but bear with me for a second. I'm gonna get a little deep and annoying into Assassin's Creed stuff. So Assassin's Creed Unity kind of set up some modern stealth elements for Assassin's Creed, specifically like the crouch button and just how it all flowed worked really well. Fans really liked the direction the stealth was going. It had social stealth elements, it had hiding in crowds, it still had missions that were like black box missions where you could take out your target however you wanted from whatever sneaky angle you wanted to do. And then Assassin's Creed Syndicate took those elements and really hammered it home by giving you the stuff that fans actually found were missing from Unity. Some noticeable things like being able to pick up and hide bodies and whistle to distract enemies. With those two little additions, it kind of gives Assassin's Creed Syndicate a leg up on Unity. And for that, we wanted to choose it. And honestly, because those two Assassin's Creed games don't really get a lot of love, but we talked about this before, Syndicate is underrated. We definitely recommend it. And the older Assassin's Creed games really had some good stealth moments. You just felt like a sneaky badass. Sure, it's no Splinter Cell or Thief or anything like that, but the sensation of being an undetected assassin in a full open world city is a pretty cool, and still to this day, pretty unique gameplay experience. Next, over at number 9, we wanted to take one out of left field. You know, we feel like we talk about the same games here all the time in these top 10 lists, so today we wanted to highlight the Saboteur. This game was released in 2009 and was the swan song. It was like the last game from Pandemic Studios. And it was really cool and really unique. It was an open world, Nazi Germany occupied Paris. The world is oppressed and black and white mostly, with stark use of color here and there, and as you slowly worked to liberate this open world and free the French people from the oppression, the world would open up with some cool pops of color. Now, it was very much released in a time where there were a lot of open world games and a lot of them trying to do everything and kind of fall flat on their face, and this game is a little goofy and janky here and there, but still, it's really awesome, and it has some stealth elements worth celebrating. You can sneak your way around, you can climb up on rooftops, you can plot your attacks sometimes. There are stealth kills, there are silenced weapons, and there's a full disguise system. So take out a Nazi, steal his uniform, and walk around undetected. There's like a whole detection system. And even if it wasn't perfect, it's unlike anything else on this list, and it is set in a pretty cool open world. So we had to give the Saboteur some love, because honestly, nobody does. Next, over at number 8, we have another kind of unconventional pick, but you know, we also looked online and saw a lot of people recommending this one, Shadow of Mordor. Shadow of Mordor is not a full stealth experience in this open world. Actually, it's technically like kind of two open worlds that are broken up here, but it does give you lots of opportunities to take advantage of some pretty simple but cool stealth mechanics in your enemy encounters, and it's kind of like a simplified stealth mechanic system that is just like a well-oiled machine. It's dependable, it's fun, it's satisfying, kind of like how the Batman Arkham games work. Some of it is really just about walking around and crouching and sneaking up behind bad guys, but when you add that with like Talion's cool abilities, the ability to kind of stealth takedown from the air and take advantage of the environment actually leads to some pretty cool stealth encounters, especially when it's really necessary early in the game when you're much weaker and you're not really like a total god yet. Still, once you really get into the flow of things, it's really fun to go into an area of the game and very quickly systematically weed out a lot of the enemies before getting into a big encounter. So again, it's an unconventional pick, but we're giving it a lot of points for just how satisfying it is. Now, next over at number 7, we have Ghost Recon Wildlands. No, we're not going to talk about Ghost Recon Breakpoint, the newer Ghost Recon game, because we weren't as big of fans of that, but after some updates and some more content added, the previous game, Ghost Recon Wildlands from 2017, actually turned out to be a pretty cool little stealth experience. Now, you are dropped in a pretty massive open world, but when it comes to engaging enemies, this game does allow you to take it slow. Shots matter, precision matters, your stance, how you're creeping around these environments actually makes a difference. And when you're playing with some friends and you go in and like take down a base all stealthy, it's pretty legit and you can feel like a ghost badass. Now, I am an old school fan of the Ghost Recon games, and I still don't think that this like holds up to that old feeling you would get playing those games, but still, the stealth here is pretty darn satisfying. Now, next over at number 6, an obligatory mention of RPGs, where you can build your own character and go for a stealth build. Specifically, let's talk Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, Oblivion, what have you. These games have deep enough RPG and character building mechanics that make it so stealth actually feels like a viable playstyle. From the stats you are given to the way the actual world and detection systems work, you can successfully stealth a lot of encounters, and it's in a big old open world, so you really have a lot of freedom to do things however you want. It's not always perfect, of course, but the further you get, the more abilities you have, the better ranged weapons you get, the stronger you are in those specific skill sets. A lot of people who have like mained a ranged character and maxed them out know that you can become pretty god tier, and it just makes for some pretty satisfying open world stealth moments. Not to mention that these types of games do give you the occasional side quest that really emphasizes stealth that are pretty cool. Now, next over at number 5, we're going to talk another hybrid style game, and that's Far Cry. Really, anyone you want from modern Far Cry. So Far Cry 3, which kind of started this, Far Cry 4, Far Cry 5, whatever you want really, but these games actually do a pretty decent job with stealth. A pretty straightforward detection system, some somewhat decent enemy AI, and just lots of open world encounters and bases and little enemy groupings that are designed to be wiped out with a variety of different ways, most notably stealth. In a lot of games, especially like Far Cry 3, where I thought it still was the most satisfying, there are a lot of moments in this game where you can play through fully stealth, and it's really good. Yeah, your options, your tool set is somewhat limited. You can distract guards. You usually have a silenced ranged weapon, a bow and arrow, but also a lot of cool stealth takedown skills, and the ability to really take advantage of the environment and just create random things like, you know, shooting the lock off of a cage where a wild animal is being held, you know, weird emergent stuff like that. And again, the game may not always scream stealth game to you right out of the gate, but when you're in the weeds and you're crouching in a bush and you are stealthing your way through an entire encounter, it's pretty damn good, and it checks these boxes. Now, next over at number 4, let's talk Prey. Now, of course, with stealth, we want to talk about stuff like Dishonored or Deus Ex, you know, those sim games, but technically they're not open world. And Prey, while not necessarily open world, at least feels the closest to a somewhat open game, as this space station that you're on and slowly venturing through slowly kind of like opens up throughout the game and lets you roam around even more. And by the end of the game, you do have a fairly decent degree of freedom. It's another game where the stealth is pretty simple, but considering it's from the people behind Dishonored, it's still really well designed and feels substantial. It's also just a really underrated game, one that has grown on us over time. Next over at number 3, a game that we mentioned previously earlier in this video, Batman Arkham City. Now, we could have went with the more action-focused Batman Arkham Knight or Arkham Asylum, but Batman Arkham City is our favorite, so we're gonna roll with it. Batman Arkham City is an open-world game where you get to roam around a big, massive open environment as Batman doing your Batman thing. And there's not a lot of other open-world games that give you a tool set like Batman's. You know, his different vision modes, his grappling hook, smoke bombs, diversions, distractions, all of it really just makes you feel like Batman. Haha, I did the meme. But no, seriously, the way everything is designed in this game, from when you're out in the open world, where you can literally just fly and glide around doing your Batman thing and go completely undetected, maybe taking out some snipers, to going into the more interior areas. Each little moment of the game, whether it's an open world rooftop or a tight interior level, is completely designed for you to embrace all of your Batman stealth abilities, from hiding underneath the floor, to hiding in vent shafts, to dangling on the ceiling, to the various items in the environment to cause distractions. And again, that whole tool set just makes it all feel pretty damn perfect. It is really satisfying to take like a whole little base or like a rooftop filled with gun-toting enemies silently, with no enemy really being aware. It just makes you feel like the Batman, the actual shadow, the fear that is cast in criminals' hearts. It just nails it. And it does it in a big open environment, so we had to give it some love. Now, next over at number 2, let's talk Watch Dogs 2. This game has some really great stealth moments in a big open world near future San Francisco. Now, Watch Dogs Legion is okay, but we found that Watch Dogs 2 just had some cooler mission designs and encounters in this open world that really prioritize stealth. Your stealth tool set is fairly simple, but you have some cool stealth takedowns, and of course, it's a Watch Dogs game, so you have your cell phone and the ability to manipulate a lot of tech around you, from scouting out the environment with drones to hacking security cameras. There's a lot of ways that you can feel like a stealth badass, but not really in a video game way where you're like this badass superhero guy. You're actually just sneaking into real world places past security guards and doing it non-violently, non-lethally if you want, which of course a real good stealth game always gives you those types of options, and Watch Dogs 2 does it really well. It's an underrated one and really improved on a lot of the gameplay elements from the first game, which we also didn't hate. But if you've never spent any time with Watch Dogs 2 and you do like some stealth in your open world chaos, definitely reconsider this one. Now, down to number 1, of course, we have to mention it if we're talking open world stealth games. The best true open world dedicated stealth game is Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Phantom Pain gives you 2 big open world maps to really do whatever you want. There are tons of story-based missions and tons of optional missions to just get better at the game, get better tools, build up your base. And the amount of scenarios in this game and the amount of ways to take down different sections quietly and sneakily is pretty staggering. You were given a lot of tools, and if you really take your time, that tool set grows to like a mind-blowing amount of weird and quirky ways you can sneak past bad guys. From satisfying silenced weapons to your fists to weirder tech, Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain is kind of like an open world stealth playground, and it just completely cracked the code of making stealth fully open world. You can of course go guns blazing if you want, but the main focus here, at least for us personally, is stealth. It's what the Metal Gear games really are, and no other game has really come close to replicating this formula in open world. Splinter Cell Blacklist went semi-open environment, but even if they make a new Splinter Cell game, could it really accomplish an open world feeling like this? Who knows? Still, we love stealth games, we love Metal Gear, so of course we had to include the open world one at number 1 for our open world stealth games list. Those are our picks. Like I said, this is kind of a complicated and tricky list, but we got some bonus games that we wanted to highlight. Some games that just had really, really big environments, even if it wasn't technically open world, like Sniper Elite 4, which is great. Also, the Horizon games, Forbidden West and Zero Dawn, they're technically in a massive open world, and you can be very sneaky. The game gives you a decent amount of tools. Styx, Shards of Darkness, which I don't think was as good as the original game, but still, it's got massive environments, and stealth fans have been loving it. And of course, IO Interactive's newer Hitman games. Some of the map sizes here are absolutely staggering, and they definitely give you that open world feel, that vibe, a little bit. But again, these are our choices, so we want to hear yours down in the comments. Open world stealth gaming, let us know what you're playing, and let us know what you would want from a fully open world stealth game, because like I said, we don't really have too many dedicated ones. Let us know what you would want to see. If you enjoyed this video and had fun with us today, though, clicking the like button's all you got to do. It really helps us out. And if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.